All right, so I'm going to try something new here. So on the air, we just talked about our little psychic check conversation, which was what, Samantha?
Spiritual practices and strategies to help you get over an ex.
Okay, so what I want to do with this is have more of these conversations off the air. And I know that a lot of times we talk about our exes, we, downplay it. We want to get over them so fast, as like you mentioned before. But how can I put this? Why the hell do we hold on to these relationships that we know are so bad for us? And this is for people that might have missed what we talked about on the air. So let's go into that a little bit more.
So a lot of us, it's not just limited to some. A lot of us have in the back of our mind someone that we can't kick. It's like having an addiction. It's you get stuck in the moment of shoulda, woulda, coulda, what could have been, what could have happened, what could I have done different? And a lot of us are self-blaming. We were raised to never feel like we were adequate or enough. So a lot of us will pick partnerships where we're always constantly trying to prove ourselves.
Yeah.
And so it's really hard. It's really hard for a lot of females. I mean, I'm not going to limit it to females because there's a lot of masculine energy. There's a lot of men who come forward and they can't get over someone, right? But when we're trying to get over an ex, we forget that we have to put ourselves first again. Yeah. And a lot of us are raised to never think of ourselves first.
I can't lie. I'm one of those people that if I even thought about thinking about myself first, I was considered self-centered and self-absorbed. So when the last relationship that I was in ended, even though it was short, it was hard for me to let that go because, first of all, I really thought I saw a future with this person. But also, too, they fed into that dream that I wanted, which was the marriage, the kids, being able to continue.
Perfect life.
Right, exactly.
The picket fence.
Right, exactly. And so when we talk about love bombing and stuff, but it's not what we're discussing today. When we talk about these types of things, how do we let go of those fantasies that this person has built in our head that are no longer real?
Right. Well, lip service is the hardest part of dating because you're starting to get to someone and you have that natural placebo hormone, the love hormone.
Right.
And you're like doped up on dopamine and you're feeling like, oh my God, this person matches me. They're perfect. But what we don't understand is that it takes a while to really understand who a person really is because when you're in the lust factor of a relationship, it always feels great. And then when people drift into what the relationship really is, people are so quick because of today's day and age to discard one another.
Yeah, like nobody wants to take the time to get to know each other. If it's not something that hits right away, you're like, I'm done.
Right.
So I want you to talk about some of these ways that we can use to get over those exes. Like let's run through some of them because you had 7.
I have 9.
Oh, 9. Well, let's run through 5 of them that are really, really good here.
Well, okay. So number 1 is when you are getting over an ex, you want to stay present and mindful in the moment and focus on your breath and be aware of your thoughts and feelings without judgment and practice acceptance of your own current reality.
So like you said before, like the self-love and like...
Right. So practicing mindfulness is respecting yourself, forgiving yourself, giving yourself self-acceptance, giving yourself self-love.
Okay.
Number 2 would be, yes, it's okay to be angry. It's okay. It is okay to grieve. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to process any negative emotions such as the sadness, the resentment, the anger. But how are you processing it? Are you putting it inside you and keeping it like stuck like a steel trap? Or are you going and working out? Are you going and hanging out with people who make you feel better? Are you journaling? Are you spending time in nature? Releasing the negative emotions doesn't mean...
Let's go back to that one that you just mentioned, though. Because we talk about, like I'm talking about this because of the fact that in the midst of a breakup, I moved also.
Yeah.
So you're starting a new life. You want to make, right. You want to make new friends. You want to do all these things in the midst of trying to heal from a breakup. How do you use those factors also? Like you move your transplant. You got to start a new life. You got to make new friends. You got to find you got to get back to your routine in the midst of that. And this is for other people that have gone through the same thing too. So, I want to understand more on that a little bit.
So the biggest mistake people do when they move and then go through a breakup is they hermit. They isolate. They get busy, wrapped up in the current career or the current setting that they're faced with, right?
Yeah.
And the best thing to avoid that is remember what you were like when you were like 16, 17, you were carefree, you were out in the world, you were just trying to have a good time. And sometimes you have to go find hobbies and get into the creative zone and find similar things that you can meet people on that similar level.
Okay.
Because that will probably help you gain more friendships or gain like a positive relationship starting off of something that we both enjoy on the same level.
Okay, that makes sense. And I asked this because I did the same thing. I was a hermit. I've been a hermit. I'm still a hermit.
I think that's the hardest part, is that a lot of us are set in stone to hermit when we're hurt.
Yeah.
Because it's something that has been embedded in us, is don't cry, dry it off, like get up, don't be sad, don't be a crybaby. And it's like, since when is human emotion a toxic trait? Like, we are human beings and we should cry, we should be upset, we should be vulnerable. We are vulnerable species.
Exactly. Okay, let's go on to, we did 2 so far, right? So let's go.
All right. So then you need to find yourself connecting to your spiritual self. And what is your spiritual self? Because it doesn't mean that you have to go and be a gypsy in the middle of the desert showing your hoo-ha to the sun god. It doesn't mean that.
Bring the new man in.
It does not mean that. Finding your spiritual beliefs is actually recognizing your thoughts and validating yourself and being in the moment with yourself where you're like, I just don't feel good about that situation, therefore I will not do it. Or I feel 100% like I need to take this chance and this opportunity and I'm going to go with it.
Okay.
Spiritual self. Spiritual self is allowing yourself to find solace and strength within yourself and being your own advocate and being your own self-reliant friend. Like, you have to be your best friend through a breakup because you got you. And a lot of us don't even have that connection.
It's true. We don't connect to ourselves like we should because we're too scared to, because we don't want to feel that hurt or that pain.
Right. And when we talk about stuff to other people, we always feel like we're a burden. We always feel like we are, oh, I just don't want to bug you. Like, since when is your human feelings an annoyance to another person? That is something your parents did to you.
Why are you dragging me, Samantha? Okay, let's go on to the next one because we got about 2 minutes left.
Okay, well, I mean, you have to forgive and let go and reflect and learn, because forgiveness towards your ex-partner and yourself, holding on to those resentments and anger can only hinder you from the healing process. And letting go does hurt, but it's necessary for you to actually gravitate towards reflecting and learning the lesson. Therefore, you're not repeating the lesson with the next person who comes along. Because sometimes in breakups, we always want to pin it on the other person, where it's like, oh, well, they were negative, they were a narcissist, they did this, what did you do? Sometimes we have to look at our own reflection in the mirror and say, where do I need to fix some of my stuff?
And you tell me I don't need to fix anything, Samantha, so now I don't know what I need to do.
And then the last one, because we're almost coming up to the end of this segment, is, sometimes this can trigger a lot of childhood traumas, a lot of neglect that you may have not really realized you had growing up. So get a counselor. There's nothing wrong with seeking support groups, grieving counselors, life coaches, any type of counseling. There is nothing wrong with that. Sometimes we face things in life where we do get depressed. And sometimes being depressed and by yourself in your room is not the best route. You can't do that. Seek support. And then practice gratitude. Be grateful that you are still here. You survived. You're here today. Your story is today and then on. We have to stop going backwards and say, oh my God, how can I paint that different? You can't.
Okay. All right. Well, Samantha, I get it. So basically I need to let it go. Everybody else need to let their exes go and they need to move on. Now, if you like these psychic checks, we want to keep these going. Okay. In the meantime, though, I got to get back to work right now before I miss my break. I'm going to stop this right now. Bye, guys.
Way of showing it.
It is truly heartbreaking. I know this is not the last we have heard of Prince Harry and his family drama, but we're going to move on to Riri.